Hello, welcome back to the if else video. So we've just gone through if statements. We've seen that they are basically a Boolean true false. We've seen what happens if the if is a false, like in this particular, which was the last example that we've done. We've seen that we actually skipped over the actual if statement, so let's double check that again. Okay, so we can see if we run this, because the variable status is down, the if statement is looking for a operator of up, a comparison of up rather, so it's not doing anything. Now that's not really very good to us. We want to be able to see an output even if it fails. So what we can do what's called an else statement. So an else statement will basically capture the other status. So if it's true, then the if statement runs. If it's false, then the else statement runs. Let's have a look. So let's do our else here, and we will jump down again. Now remember that the else statement is not part of the if, it's additional to it. So you don't put an else statement inside the body of the if. It goes on the same section, i.e. you see the same position as the actual if. So let's do a print, and we'll go device is okay. So what should happen here, if you look at this, is if the status is up, then the if statement should pick that up and say the device is operational. It will print that the device status is fine, no action is required. If it's not, the comparison doesn't match, then it should move to the next block, which is the else block. And in this case, we now have a print statement to say device is down. We can put as much as we want. I'm going to show you something pretty cool shortly, just after this, just so you can see it's not all about print. All right, let's run this statement now, see what happens. Now you see here it comes back and tells us the device is down. So when the comparison, which was up, actually wasn't correct, because the actual variable is down, it skipped the if statement entirely and went directly to the else. So we've got an output, so we can see what's happening with this. So if I now change this down to up and save that, and let's run this again, we can see now again it's completely bypassed the else statement. The else, it went straight to the if, because the comparison was exactly the same. It shows us that the comparison operator is correct, so it's done the print device is operational, and it's done the print device device status no action required. Okay, so what happens, however, if we change this up in capital letters? All right, let's save this. What do we expect to see? Well, it's telling us that it's up, so we would think that the comparison operator would say this is the same, this is true, let's run what is in the if block. Let's run this and see what happens. It tells us that the device is down. You need to remember that they are case sensitive. So if we was to put, let's say, up here in capitals and now run it again, we will see that it should come back as device is operational. This is something that you need to be mindful of, is that everything in Python is case sensitive. So if the variable that we've assigned to the top variable of device status is in capitals or has a capital in it, then it has to be the same if we're doing an if statement against it. All right, yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so what we're going to do now, all we've really done with the if and the else is print statements, and that is an awful lot of what we'll be going through anyway. But I thought, just to show you that you can do an awful lot more with this, and this will come with time as you delve deeper into your Python studies. What I've got I have GNS3 running on my machine. I've got a Cisco router, couple of PCs connected to it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to, with the else statement, I'm going to call another external script. You can see in the side here, I have a script here called collect.py. Of course, this isn't an automation course, so we're not going to go through that. This is just to show you that you can actually do more than print. You know, so this can be quite powerful, and this can be quite relevant to your job anyway, to give you maybe a better appreciation as to what the if and else statements can actually do. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to write a little bit of code here. So let's do devices down for our else statement, running checks. So this is what we want it to print out to us, and now I'm going to tell it to call this external script only if the else statement is active. So we're going to do exec open, and we're going to collect.py and close parentheses, and we're going to just read that. All right, oops, no. There we go. All right, let's see what happens with this. So let's change this back to lowercase. I prefer lowercase up. Right, so we change that back to up. We change this back to up as well. Oops, that would definitely fail. Right, so that's up. Let's save that with Control S, and let's clear this. All right, so if I run the script, we should see that this comparison operator is true, so it should come back and print off the device is operational. Device is operational, as the device has no action is required. That's what we like to see. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to change this now to, let's say, down. I could put a capital up, as long as it's different. That's all that matters. Let's go down just to keep it in line with what we're doing. And let's see what actually happens now, what the if the else statement does if the else statement is actually called. So let's run this. Okay, running checks, connected to a router, connected successfully, and here we go. As you can see here, we now have a diagnostic report. I've logged into router. I've done the show IP interface brief. I've got I can see here that this interface is administratively down, Giga Ethernet 03. We've had a little look at the logs, you know, it's passed the logs for us. So as you can see, with just one command, we've managed to turn around and say, well, if the device is down, you know, the else statement, it can do more than just print. It's now actually run a NetMiko script to SSH onto the device. And again, this can be amended at any point in the future. Yeah, I will be doing an automation course at some point after this, if you're interested. And it's running an external script. It's logged onto a Cisco device. It's pulled some data off, and it's given us a diagnostic report for it as well. So before, all we've seen is print this, print that, print the next thing, print something else, print another thing. And, you know, that is just the basic learning of how the syntax works. Just wanted to give you a practical demonstration of, hey, look, we can actually do an awful lot more with both ifs and elses. All right, let's try something else. So let's delete all of this, and let's do a link speed equals, and let's go 100 expected underscore speed equals 1000. So our link speed is currently 100 meg, but our expected speed is a gigabit. Right, so we have our two variables there. Let's do an if statement. So let's do if, and we do link speed. Now remember what we've done before. is we done an operator, which we're going to do now, comparison, but we was comparing it to a defined number, i.e. we would be comparing the link speed to, well, a value that we've given it. But now we're going to compare it to another variable of the expected speed. So what we're going to say here is if the link speed is the same as the expected speed, then we have our print statement to say that it's successful. Otherwise we're going to or else rather, it's going to say, well, we've got a problem with our speeds. So it's the same as expected speed, and don't forget our colon, and it should drop us down into an indentation, and we can do a print, and we can go speed is okay at 1 GB. All right, so this is what we expect if the link speed and the expected speed are the same. Now let's do our else statement. So our else, when we can do a print, and let's do an F string for this. Let's be speed mismatch, and we can do let's do speed mismatch, and let's put a variable in there, and we can do link speed, no, not link speed, let's do, I don't like it when that box comes down, so I'm trying to type mismatch, and we will do current speed, and let's put the variable in there, and we do link speed and close the variable. So current speed mismatch, current link speed, and it will give us the value of 100, and we would say should be, and put another variable in, expected speed, close that variable off, close that, and close that. All right, so this is what we expect to happen. So as it stands at the moment, our link speed is currently 100, our expected speed is 1000. So our if statement should fail on this, and it should go directly to the else statement. So let's save that with Control S. Let's clear this. Let's run this script and see what happens. It tells us that there's a speed mismatch. The link is 100, should be 1000. Now let's have a little look and change that to 1000. So add that in, save that with Control S, and run it again, and the comparison operator should match, so therefore the if statement block should now actually run. There you go, speed is okay at 1 gig. Now you need to be careful, however, because you can't take this as gospel, because all it's doing is comparing what you've actually put in. If I was to put in 2000 for argument's sake, what's going to come back? The expected speed. Now this should fail. Let's double check this. Control S rather. Yeah, see, there's a mismatch. It should be 1000. So there is no actual real super deep logic in this, which is a bit of a shame, but that's just the way that Boolean operators work, true or false. Don't forget, we can do a greater than or a less than, as well as we've done before on our operators. Let's delete this, and I can show you what I mean about the slight lack of intelligence when you're using basic Boolean. So let's do VLAN ID, and let's say it equals 0. Okay, we know we can't have a VLAN ID of 0, but if so, let's do an if statement. So if VLAN ID is greater than, oops, put space on there. If VLAN ID is greater than, let's say, 4094, and we've got our colon rather, and then we will print, and we will go VLAN ID is too high, and let's do our else statement, and we will print C VLAN ID is in correct range. Okay, now let's save this. Let's clear this and then run. Okay, so it's telling us that the VLAN ID is in the correct range. This is where you have to be careful. So while it is correct, VLAN ID of 0 is, not higher than 4094. The thing is, we know that VLAN ID, we can't use it. It doesn't exist. So when you're writing your scripts, you need to be mindful of what you're actually doing as well, because at the end of the day, if for some reason, not that I've ever seen this, but if you was to see that on the device and you was running this basic if and else, it could tell you, oh yeah, everything's fine and dandy, but it's not. We know it's not as network engineers, but Python, as far as Python's concerned, that is completely valid. I could put like negative 125 if I want, and it will still come back and say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. The VLAN ID is in the correct range. Okay, wonderful. So to sum up the basic if else, how it works, as we've now seen, is true, always gives the if block, and false will always give the else block. So there you go. I hope that's been interesting to you. Not as long as the last video, or actually maybe it might be, to be fair, looking at the time on it. But I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed the little SSH NetMiko demo as well, just to show that we can do a lot more than just print, but just to give you an idea of how this actually works. Hope to see you in the next video, where we'll be doing even more conditional logic. We'll be moving away from just if and else, and we'll be adding in some different syntax as well.